Ladies and gentlemen, here we are at Hex Fight Series 29. Not even backstage, we're literally outside with Damien Beatdown Brown. Now, I would talk about the gym, I would talk about the fact that you've got Paul Loga fighting tonight, but I feel the tension in the air. Your grappling competitor, Miles Simpson, is also in the change room area. Have you guys had a look at each other?
I've had a little squeeze of the biceps to see what he's got.
They're big, eh?
Yeah, I mean, he's a strong guy.
He used to be a featherweight.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've made featherweight once.
Did you?
Yeah.
Really?
No, well, it was a catchweight, 67. I made 66.9.
Because we found out that you...
Nearly died, mate.
Yeah, I was going to say, because didn't your nutritionist say, because we nearly saw you and George Soteropoulos fight, but you can't make lightweight because your nutritionist said it just wasn't all possible anymore?
Not exactly. So, I'm 39, making lightweight after... I've always cut, maybe started camp 8-10 weeks out, I'm 88 to 90 kilos. I cut to about 79, and even in my first few fights, I would only ever be 79 anyway, and then I'd do about a 7 or 8 kilos in fight week. So
you're all legs.
I'm 70% legs, 30% of my body, but doing that at my age just doesn't seem, there's not much. I mean, there's got to be a bit of sauce in it for me, you know what I mean? A bit of money. And if it's not worth it, why do it? We could just do it at 77, let's just skip the dehydration part and punch each other in the face.
Well, I want to ask you about these grappling, because when you talk about the sauce, is there any sauce on the grappling, or is it just free flight, have some fun?
All I ask when they want to match up is put me up close to the casino and pay for my flights and accommodation. That's it. I actually don't. On main event of the next one, which was not really planned, it was sort of they announced the event. I went, I just made a comment. There was the last one was unreal. I want to be a part of it. Let's go to Adelaide. Adelaide's pretty cool. I've been there once and I've got mates down there, so it just sort of made sense. And then Miles jumped on and said, if you don't have anyone to match up with, I would be honoured, full respect. And so I thought, well, fuck, that seems like just a free trip, and really there's, the expectation to get paid for grappling I think's a little silly. Combat jiu-jitsu maybe, but normally we're paying to go in grappling tournaments, so it makes a lot of sense to me. If they're willing to pay my flights and accommodation, I get a couple of sponsors. It's just a weekend away, opportunity for me to compete again. And
well, I was going to say, what if I was here's $100, but you're close to the casino, you make what you make and you keep that?
What do you mean?
Just go put $100 on red. It could be, you could make as much money as you want. What if I just paid you in gambling chips?
I honestly don't need to get paid to grapple. You just need to pay for my flights and accommodation.
Now, as a promoter, of course, you've got your own show coming up with Beatdown Promotions. That you talk about the fighter experience. Now, I think are we 6 shows in? Have you had any hiccups along the way?
Oh man, my first show was everything a fighter, a promoter could experience. I had, the normal stresses of setting up our systems and everything that we had. I do business properly. We've had business conversations before. Obviously, Callum Potter's impressed by my business prowess. But more so the fact I've been punched in the face so many times and can still run a business. But we had everything, man. We were trying to set everything up. I felt like I was working till midnight, 1 o'clock every night. Now it's more of a rinse and repeat and dealing with the issues as they come up. But even in fight week, we lost 3 fights. We replaced 2 of them, and then on the weigh-in day, we lost 2 more. The fight day, we lost 1, and we ended up with 11 fights, which was still pretty good. But I think I lost 5 fights total and replaced 2 of them in fight week. And one was after the weigh-in. He came in, he missed weight by 400 grams or something, and then ended up in hospital with kidney problems. And the other one was a couple of guys that just pulled out literally 36 hours before. And then I had 2 weight misses, big ones, and they were big fights. So it was very difficult. And I was dealing with internationals who, so for those that don't know, in Japan, if you miss weight in Japan, typically in every promotion, but more so the big ones, you get fined, and it's usually 30%, and then your opponent has a weight restriction the next day, so what they can get back up to. And then you start the fight on the judging criteria, so you can't win the fight. So if you win by knockout or submission, it's ruled a no contest. And if you make it to the decision, then basically you can't win.
Really?
Yeah, so all you're really fighting for is like pride and honor, which is kind of a cultural thing, I guess, and money.
So that's if you just miss weight by like 300 grams outside of an allowance or something.
Yeah, look, if you miss weight, it's a no contest ruling. It's like widely known. Like it's not really a hidden fact. In fact, the Ryzen event that went past on New Year's Eve when Juan Archuleta missed weight, he was the champ. He missed weight and he was fighting Kai Sakura. And Asakura just had to make to a decision and he would win because he started with a 50% criteria deduction. And so basically he had to knock him out to get a no contest. So they're fighting for a no contest. If they make it to the end, they're going to lose. So they don't want the loss on their record. So they fight for a no contest, essentially.
Do you like that?
Paid. No. I think the perfect world in professional combat sports for weight misses is that you get a monetary fine, but more importantly, there has to be a fight disadvantage. And I think starting the first round, a point down for under a 2 kilo miss, and if it's over a 2 kilo miss, you should start 2 points down. We do it for amateurs. Why not do it for professionals? They do it for amateurs because there's no monetary fine. But if you're getting paid $1,500, who cares? Yeah, no one cares about losing $300. In fact, no one in the UFC gives a shit about losing $5,000 out of 20. Like if you're cutting weight to that extreme and you're close, you don't care. You're like, oh, whatever about the $5,000, it doesn't matter. So they'll sacrifice money. Not necessarily to get an advantage, but like to get out of that weight cut situation. So I think, monetary fines is a good thing, but I think a real deterrent or motivator to just push a little bit extra or push yourself back up to the next weight class is to take a point off in the first round.
So you would do that?
Yeah, 100% I'd do that.
So literally like the first round, the best you can get is...
Amateurs do it now. Amateurs miss weight, they start 1 point down. You have to win both rounds. You have to win 2 rounds to get a draw. That's a real disadvantage. And if you look at the odds of the people that have missed weight and gone on to win, the odds are stacked heavily in favour of the guy that missed weight.
Can you implement that at all? I mean, I don't know how Queensland works, but I know promotions can sometimes, I think Hex does an allowance and stuff. Holy great, Steve Kennedy just walked in. Come on in, mate. Come on in. Legendary Steve Kennedy. Damien Brown, welcome, Steve.
Hello.
Now, you both have boys in title fights tonight. Well, we're talking about, we're talking about weight cuts, right? And the fact that what you should be penalised for missing weight. But Damo thinks that, a point for the first round is good. What would you penalise someone for missing weight?
Yeah, a point is good. Money doesn't make any difference because at the end of the day, wins or losses sharp. No one checks back and go, who made weight or whatnot. I think there shouldn't be an allowance for title fights as well.
See, I wanted to, while you're here, Steve didn't know this as well because I believe Jacob said it was in the contract. Maybe he didn't read it.
I read a contract.
The Abdallah in the Harry Webb fight, there was a 450-gram allowance. What are your both thoughts on that in championship fights?
Well, to be a champion at a weight class, you have to make the championship weight. It's just otherwise it's not a legitimate title. But yeah, if it's in the contract, it's in the contract. We knew that Harry was going to be heavier and we didn't cut any weight anyway. So it doesn't make any difference to this fight. But yeah, at least we know for next time.
And your thoughts on allowances?
I have to disagree. I think, there's levels to MMA, right? So you got domestic level and international level. Look, if you're making 15, 20 grand a fight, it's different, but I don't think anyone should be paid $2,500 and have to fight 5 rounds. I think all title fights in Australia should be 3 rounds. I think that an allowance is not there because of championship weight or not. It's a scale discrepancy. So the whole point of the allowance is to make up for my home scales being different to the official. So the allowance is used, call it abused, whatever you want, by athletes in Australia or the world to not cut the extra 450. But the reality is it's there, so the scales are different. I make my guys make weight on our scales. And then when they get here, if they're 250 over, then sweet. And I think championship fights should have that as well.
Thoughts on that, Steve?
That's an interesting school for thought. I agree with a lot of it. I definitely think the guys should be getting paid a lot more money. I think 5-round fights are good because it's just all experience at this point. And when they do get to the top level, if they fall 5 rounds, it's just more rounds in the bank, more experience for the boys.
Now, while I got you both here, before I kick Steve off, is there anything that you guys wish you could have changed about your career and what you had to go through and what you're seeing fighters get the luxury of now?
No, literally everything. The shows, the training, the YouTube, the ability to watch fights. And just they're all taking it seriously. They're getting exposed to it at a younger age, and we had none of that.
I wouldn't change my journey at all. But I do use, what we went through and what we dealt with and how we trained was a little fucking crazy, to be honest, 10 years ago. But headaches on Wednesdays is not really a thing these days. People are a lot smarter and there's a lot more technology and, the skill set's a lot higher and there's not really a need for it. So I feel like whilst I wouldn't change my journey, I wouldn't let my athletes travel the same path.
And finally, before I let you go, Steve, you tend to be getting into a few grappling matches with some legends. So, Steve, could we see Steve and Kennedy, Damien Brown, perhaps in a grappling match?
I'm about 90 kilos.
Oh, we're fucking on.
Sex appeal. I accept the challenge with Damien Brown. Any rule set, any time, any place. I would never pull guard. I would die before I pull guard. I'm dropping him on his head. You heard it here first.
I'm posting videos of him pulling guard in the UFC.
Was that against Richie Walsh?
That was against Rich Walsh. 16 times on your ass.
Before we wrap this up, I mean, well, you've got Beatdown coming up. Of course, we're here for Hex. What can we expect come March 9th?
A sold-out crowd, and we got 68 tickets left. We normally sell 150 in 5 weeks, so we'll get a 6 sold-out crowd. We got fireworks. We have 16 fights, but we've got a format. We'll be through in 4 hours, like we always are. And I think you'll see everything you expect from amateur fights. Some you'll get decisions, and some you'll get wild finishes. And our pro matchups, we've got a couple of young guys, obviously Caleb Miller and Max. They're from my gym, but they've had some wins and losses as a pro, and I feel like they're facing opponents in the same situation. So that'll be a couple of good fights. But I think the Alfred Stoddart, Nick Kepu fight, I mean, I would not be blinking during that fight. That's fireworks. It was very exciting for me to put together. I'm a fan of both. I've trained with Kepu like 10 years ago. He's a good kid, lots of talent. And Stoddart looked on fire against Dobbs, so I think that's a fight to keep an eye on. And obviously Stuart Nickel is, if people aren't watching out for that guy, then they're missing out on something. He's a special breed. He's in my opinion, easily the best flyweight in the country by a country mile, and he has been for a long period of time. And unfortunately at flyweight, as with heavyweight, there's not many people with undefeated records and sort of like talent that you can put away. So we've brought people in, and the flyweight division for a couple of years was a little stale. I think a lot of flyweights were going up to bantamweight. I think the main event, everyone should watch out for. He's facing a 5-0 guy with 5 first-round knockouts, and that to me is exciting.
I'm going to ask you about Stewie Nickel. You said best flyweight by a country mile, but we now have Sean Gauci and, of course, Anthony Drillich. Did you forget them, or do you still think he beats them by a country mile?
I would be lying if I said I didn't know who Drillich was before his last fight. I had no idea, and I don't mean that in any offensive way. Is that your guy? Like, I don't mean that in any offensive way. Like, I had no idea he was a flyweight until he won the belt for Eternal. So props to Eternal. Put him on the fucking map, maybe. I don't know. And as far as Gauci goes, I will refrain from offending that team because I cross-train with them. And I think he's a sensitive guy. So I like put a post up that upset them, and I fucking didn't mean it, But
well, it's not like this is going to get quoted and posted.
Nah, it is what it is. Like he's a good guy. I only met him once, and he was very respectful. And the boys him and Paul were training together, and they train very smartly. And he's got a lot of talent. I know he's been at bantamweight for a while. He's had a run of injuries. And, you know, I hope that he makes the flyweight limit and doesn't do any damage to himself, because he's a fucking big guy for flyweight. And, you know, Stuart Nichols been my training partner. I've managed him. I've looked after him for a long period of time. I think he beats Gauchi. That fight will never happen. They train together. I know that's what your next question is. So, no, look, he was just upset with one of my Instagram posts, but I didn't mean anything by it. But fucking whatever. It is what it is.
Well, I will leave the stirring there because I feel like you did enough for me. Ladies and gentlemen, Damien Brown, Beatdown Promotions, 6 March 9th. Where do they get tickets? Is it they can't stream? What are we doing?
So, Beatdown Promotions 6, Stuart Nickel, Issei Kitano, main event. You can get tickets from beatdownpromotions.com.au. And I think more importantly, because that's nearly sold out, guys, right around the corner, May 11, Townsville, Battle in the North, Townsville Entertainment Centre, 4,000 seats. Make sure you're watching enough of that one.
Well, welcome to Chase.
Yeah, welcome to Chase, baby.